How is everybody doing? It's the Fading Fire, and for this episode of Caster's Finesse, we will be talking about the Moonlight greatsword, a fan favorite. So, to wield the Moonlight greatsword, you'll need 16 strength, 11 dexterity, and 26 intelligence to use it. With 60 intelligence, I get a plus 203, which is a really strong B scaling, and my AR with 60 intelligence is 572. And equipping the Crown of Dusk will up your AR, so up mine to 594. Also, putting on the magic clutch ring will also increase your AR, but I don't think it's worth the damage that you will be taking. So I wouldn't suggest the magic clutch ring. But you will obtain this sword by killing Osiris, the Consumed King, after killing the Dancer of the Boreal Valley. And you take his soul to Ludleth for with Osiris's soul and 10,000 souls, you'll be able to have the sword for yourself. Let's get into the moveset. Here's a weapon art, and we are going to get into the charged R2s of the attack. They no longer have AoE blast, so if you play Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 2 and used to them having AoE blast, they no longer have AoE blast. They took the Bloodborne effect of it. There goes a running attack. Here goes the two-handed R1s and the two-handed R2s without the blast. And these are the one-handed R1s. These are the one-handed R2s with the blast, and without. If you don't hold the charged attack, it will be the same thing, just with no blast. So let's get into some PvP. At first, this sword was very disappointing when the game first came out, but as of patch 1.07, it upped the magical damage and got rid of the dexterity scaling, and downgraded the strength scaling, but upped that magic scaling to a B, and a really strong one at that. I've never seen a B scaling do plus 203. It's really strong. So this weapon, since the patch 1.07, has become an absolute monster. This weapon does tons of damage. If the fact that you have 60 or 50, in intelligence, it will pump out some really high damage. And if you don't have that high of investment, it is still a good thing to pick up. But the one-handed R1s are really good out of catching people out of the rolls. So it is, since it has kind of like an awkward wide swing to it, if they're moving or rolling backwards or to the side, it doesn't have a wide arching swing. So the one-handed R1s are very good at catching people out of the rolls, and the two-handed R1s are also good at catching people in the rolls if they're rolling towards you or if they're rolling straight back. So if they're panic rolling straight back or rolling into you, the people will get the timing wrong on the two-handed R1s a lot of the time, and they will get caught by the two-hit stun combo, so that is great. And the two-handed R1s also have hyper armor, so if you're facing a faster weapon and you're looking for that trade, start up that two-handed R1 attack and get the hyper armor frames, and you will trade with them, which is very good because the hyper armor is a very strong thing to have. Let's get into the R2s. The R2s are the charged R2s. The regular R2s are really good at catching people off guard. So if you throw out the R2 and they think it's a charge, they're gonna roll a little earlier than they would for a regular R2, and if they roll into you, you'll catch them with R2. I do it a lot. And the R2, the one-handed R2, is really good for parry baiting. So to the extent that you're facing an opponent that you think would get caught by a parry bait, because good players usually don't get caught by parry baits. I'm not saying if you get caught by parry bait, you're not a good player. Sometimes we slip up. But if you if you think you'll catch a person with a parry bait and you use the one-handed R1s are great because the recovery time is not that punishing. So if you do a one-handed R1, they come in for attack, you'll definitely get a parry off of it. But the R2s, the charged R2s, are not that great this time around. Like I said, they do not have the AoE blast of the last Souls game. So I would steer clear of the R2s, to be honest. But the tracking is also not that great, and the fact that it has no AoE blast is very punishing, because sometimes you'll get caught with a backstab or something for a missed R2, but in the past you kind of just throw the R2 and the AoE blast would hit. The tracking isn't all that great. The only thing I found the R2s to be good for is either parry baits or catching people in the rolls if they're rolling in the same direction as you, or some heavy trading, because if you hit the R2, the charged R2, and it hits them with the blast as well as the sword, you will do some massive damage, and you will definitely come out on top of that trade. But the weapon art, I love the weapon art on this sword. This will also deal most, oh jeez, tracking on the R2 is not great, but the weapon art of this sword is awesome. You will mostly be doing it for some heavy trading, but the thing is, it can be parried, so be careful. And it does have a very long startup time. I think I got parried in this video, but it does have a very long startup time, so you will have to anticipate the fact that somebody's gonna have to swing, or so you can really get that trade in there. So if somebody is using a faster weapon, or you know somebody's gonna swing at you, start up your weapon art, get the hyper armor frames, and out trade them. The damage on the weapon art is really good. The most I ever hit is about 950, somewhere around there. So this weapon art does tons and tons of damage, but you'll mostly be using it for trading, or if somebody's doing that run across the screen tactic. The weapon art is also good for catching people while they're running, but you'll mostly hit them with the little AoE blast effect that comes off the sword, so you only do about 300 damage, but you know, any damage is good damage. But in regards to spells, this weapon is pretty good at catching people out of the rolls. As you saw there, the one-handed attacks are really good, so if you get people in a panic rolling state, you switch to one-handed and kind of just swing away, because it is very good at catching people in the rolls. And as you see, I invested in the trade right there and came out on top with the weapon on. So overall, the hyper armor, the damage, and also the damage on critical attacks is great. I don't even need a freaking Horner ring. Yeah, I ever see everybody and their mother run around a Horner ring, but you really don't need the Horner ring. The damage on criticals is great. Two-handed hyper armor is great. The weapon art is awesome for trading, and the overall damage since the patch has just skyrocketed this weapon's performance, and it is a must-have if you are a mage. Definitely go kill Ceres and pick up this weapon. It is a must-have for mages. So go ahead and pick you guys up a Moonlight greatsword, and that is all I got for you guys for this video. Until the next one.